Hey guys, welcome back to another video. So today I'm going to be talking about books that I think really resemble Disney films in like slight ways. Some of these are stretches, like I'm really trying to stretch it, but oh well. Okay, so the first film I want to talk about is The Princess and the Frog. This is actually a Disney film I only recently watched. Like, I'd never watched it before, and every time I say that, people are like, you haven't watched it? And I was like, no, I just haven't watched it. But I got around to it and I was in love. If you don't know what The Princess and the Frog is about, it's basically about this girl called Tiana who, her father passed away when she's quite young, and she wants to fulfill their dream of owning a restaurant, and everything she does is trying to work towards that, but a lot of things come in her way as she tries to achieve that goal. I love this film, and when I was watching it, it reminded me of a book I actually had read recently, which is With the Fire on High, and this is like the book that kind of inspired this whole video, to be honest with me. That book follows this girl called Amoni who has a young daughter who she has to look after, and she's trying to get through high school, and her dream is to kind of work in a kitchen and cook food for people, be a chef basically. And she at the moment doesn't have the money for culinary classes, but she has like kind of magical power, making food just taste so good to anyone that eats it. And it was just such a lovely book. It was just one of those books that makes you feel good afterwards, and I think both this film and the book are quite inspiring in a way as well, so that's why I paired them together. They just have the same vibe, and I was like, if you like The Princess Frog, I think you definitely will like With the Fire on High. Okay, so the next film I want to talk about is one that is already a book, and that's Alice in Wonderland. So it is already a book, so yeah, but like I think I watched the film before I actually read the book, which is surprising. Doesn't happen often with me, but I did. And I really enjoyed the film, and I kind of like the one that's a bit more like, oh, a bit more not exactly following the story. I quite like that one, quite whimsical and stuff. And when I was choosing a book for this one, there was two that kind of leapt out to me. I think one is actually kind of based on Alice in Wonderland, and the other one isn't at all based on Alice in Wonderland. So the first one that isn't based on Alice in Wonderland is called Otherworld. It's actually a science fiction book, and surprisingly, I'm not a big science fiction fan, but I adored it. Like, I loved it. And so when I thought of Alice in Wonderland, I thought of this book because it's kind of all about a different reality and falling into something that is resembling reality but kind of isn't. So Otherworld is this thing that's advertised as like a game, and this book called Simon ends up kind of getting really involved in it, and as he goes through, he kind of realizes it isn't such a game, and it's a lot more like reality, and it's a lot more serious and can't be taken as lightly. Just read it. Like, even if you're not a sci-fi fan, it kept me hooked from the first page right to the end. And the next one is that's based on this is The Hazelwood. This follows a girl called Alice, and that's like the first thing that made me kind of think that it is kind of based on Alice in Wonderland. And her grandma writes all these like dark fairy tales, and her mum tells her never to go to the Hazelwood, which is basically where all the stories come kind of true, I guess. And when her mum goes missing, she has to go into the Hazelwood, and it's just a whole whimsical vibe, like fantasy's not always fun kind of vibe, like there are deadly things to watch out for and stuff. That definitely is what kind of made me link these two together. So definitely check those two books out if you're a big Alice in Wonderland fan, because I think you will enjoy them. And if you don't, oh well, but they're definitely good books, so pick them up. Okay, the next Disney film I want to talk about is probably my all-time favorite. I love this film so much, and that is Mulan. This film follows this girl who disguises herself as a man and goes to find the army when her like city is under attack. Love this film. Doesn't need any explanation of why it's so good. If you watched it, you'll hopefully love it. I hope you love it. I haven't met anyone that doesn't love it. So when I was reading a book recently, it made me think a lot about that film, and that book will be We Hunt the Flame. This book basically follows this girl called Zafira, who is basically the hunter. She protects where she lives, and she disguises herself as a man because if she went as a woman, they wouldn't accept her as being a hunter. They would just cancel out all her achievements that they have found out she was a woman. And it also follows this guy called Nasir, who is portrayed as this like cold-blooded killer. Like, he's just cold. People see him as not very compassionate. His dad just kind of uses him as a pawn to kill the people his dad wants them to kill. So they both set off on different kind of journeys. So Nasir's like objective is to kill Zafira, but it's all kind of a journey of him finding himself and how compassionate is, and her finding herself as growing into that role of being the hunter. This book is amazing. There's going to be a sequel, so if you do love Mulan, you should definitely pick up this book because I think you'll enjoy it. I listened to an audiobook and it was so immersive as well, so like if you are someone that doesn't read too much, definitely pick up the audiobook. Even if you do read a lot, just pick up the audiobook because it was good and immersive, and I think really enhanced the story. Okay, so the next Disney film I want to talk about is Mary Poppins. This is also originally based on a book, but there's a book I was reading and it really did remind me of Mary Poppins. I'm a really big Mary Poppins fan. I watched the new video that came out and I was like obsessed, like I love it. So the book I think is really similar is Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children. This book was also actually made into a film. I don't actually know who made it, I can't remember, but it's a really good film, so do check the film out as well, but check the book out first. It follows this 16-year-old boy called Jacob who ends up having to move for kind of like a vacation to the coast of Wales because he just had a family tragedy, and he meets Miss Peregrine and sees our home for peculiar children. So peculiar children are basically children that kind of have like powers. For example, like invisibility is one of them. And I think what reminded me of Mary Poppins was the fact like there's this like motherly figure that comes and she helps these children, you know, because they need it, and that's kind of like what also reminds me of. But it also reminds me of Nanny McPhee, but I don't think that's Disney, so like that doesn't count. But I just thought I'd mention that reminds me of that as well. It's just the whole this woman as a motherly figure looking after these kids that need her kind of thing, and it was really good. And it's also like Mary Poppins has that really whimsical feeling behind it because she's like pulling stuff out of her bag all the time, and there's never ending. And Miss Peregrine's not normal because she's looking after peculiar children, so it just has that kind of like vibe that's very similar. And I think honestly this one's the my favorite match I made because I just didn't really think about it until I had to think really hard, but when I thought about it I was like, wow, why didn't I think of this sooner? So that's all my list of books that I think are like Disney books. Okay, so that's the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed. Comment down below any books that you think are like other Disney films or some of these I said, and comment down whether you agree. Remember to subscribe and give us a thumbs up, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.